Do you remember what your first fight was like?
I can remember the fight. I can't remember what was said or anything in between the rounds, but it was very messy. It was just a street fight, basically. It was just two dudes with little experience just getting in trying to be the other one.
What was the feeling like in the lead up to your very first fight?
I don't think we had a lot of ideas of what we were actually in for. It was just Dan and myself, just doing as much as we could or what we thought we should be doing. So, to be honest, I was probably ignorant, and I thought I was ready. I thought I had all the tools ready for a fight. After the first fight, I think we came to the realisation of what really needed to be done. I think that first fight gave us a great indication of the tools that were needed and the knowledge that we needed to go find.
It's really interesting how far it's come in the last 7 years. I mean, if you think about it, like when we started, we weren't sure of what to expect. But not only that, our coaches weren't helping us. They didn't know what to expect either. There was only a handful of coaches around the country that could truly tell their students not only how to prepare correctly, but what to expect when they got in there, what to expect when they walk out, the expectations of how to prepare their body and their mind and all these things for mixed martial arts competition. What's the biggest change that you think you've seen inside probably the mixed martial arts industry in Australia?
I think it's just the knowledge. The knowledge is now starting to be shared around a little bit, or people are now actively seeking more knowledge. And it's good for parts around the country that aren't densely populated with high-level coaches. Like far North Queensland, those rural areas where you don't have access to those coaches day in and day out. We've got to work together and actively seek that information, actively travel to receive that information, and then bring it back and develop and change it to suit us and the guys that you have with you, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a huge part of your development too. I remember you driving up a couple of hours to spar with me, and back at that time, I wasn't even the nicest person to spar with, because everyone that I sparred with, the goal was for me to win, because I thought that's what made me better at sparring at the time. So, we were all clumsily kind of going around. I remember, I was like, the second or third weekend you come back, I was like, man, this kid has come back again. Man, he is tough. And I remember going, well, we got to give him free training or something. And we started to work a little bit better together at that point in time. But I do remember actually how horrible it must have been. I was like, man, this kid's not that good. He's getting really badly beat up. And now if I had someone come to me from an hour or two away, the last thing I'd be doing is leaving him sore and bashed up. You'd be working on his skills and making sure that his hands were in the correct position before you even went into some hard sparring. It's pretty wild when you think back of it in that sense.
I think, I think our training has definitely matured, but I also think that the way in which we started off is what's gave me the foundation to build. I think it's different. You see straight away whether you're actually in it for the right reasons, actually whether you want to do it. And I don't think it's the same way I'd spar guys now, but back then it was 3.5 hours.
Yeah, unfortunately not everyone makes it through that fire, and I think that hardening process for a lot of people take time. So if we delved back into your history, you were a rather high performer before that. You were breakdancing and doing all sorts of high level things with your body before mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I was playing national water polo. so I was used to that hard training. And again, I remember when I first started, it was just who was the best guy around, and you were the best. So I was like, well, to be the best, you got to go train with the best, and it was come up and do what he did. And it was in there, and it was full on, but
Well, it worked in the long term, didn't it? I mean, we went from rural North Queensland to Las Vegas in 5 years. That's a pretty exciting journey. Thinking back on that though, because that's a long way to go from, Airlie Beach to having a few coaches, flying away for coaches and traveling and bringing that all back to make your team stronger, which is such an admirable thing to do. But can you remember what it was like the very first time you decided to do mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu?
The very first time I was studying over in America, and I was on campus, and these guys were like, "Oh, we should come try this MMA thing." And I remember we went for a 1-week trial, and these dudes bashed me then, and I think we were only wrestling or doing jiu-jitsu, and I felt completely out of place. But I loved that that fighting or that interaction between two people. I thought this is the first time I actually enjoyed training and getting ready just as much as I feel like I'd enjoy the end game, which was super important for me, because most of the sports I played, I enjoyed playing the sport or playing the game, but I hated the training.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? Because I played a lot of sports too, but I never loved running sprints to play rugby league. I never loved running the ball, at training, running at gaps. But I only loved the gameplay part of things. But there's so much of that gameplay actually required in either learning jiu-jitsu, in say hold training, or even learning boxing, just lead hand sparring. All those skill sparring that actually build a lot of skills. Man, those games are the funnest.
Yeah.
And it is really a good way to get super good at all those sports, is that live drilling and live play, and it's super enjoyable.
And I definitely think that's developed as we've gotten better. I think when we first started, it was very simple. It was kind of like that, go and do a sprint for a long time, and then as we improved as martial arts and athletes, we started to incorporate that more game plan. I think I started to enjoy it and started to develop a lot quicker once we did.
Yeah, 100%. If you're not playing those games, you should start to do that now. Every single club out there, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you're not playing sparring games 5 days a week and you're just sparring all the time, you're not training right.
A lot of sore heads and not much development, especially depending on the intensity of which sparring can occur in some gyms. It's just not, there's no longevity in it anymore. It's interesting. I remember, like I said, when we first started, it wasn't a spar, it was a fight. You get in, you just go, I got to win this round, and then you start to step away from improving an aspect of your game.
Yeah, you're just fighting. You're just competing every weekend. And at the end of the day, that part is super fun and it has its place. You have to do it. Every now and then you got to bite down on your mouth guard and learn how to do it. But once you know how to do that, you have to do it less and less. Again, it has its place. It needs to be done. But people got to get into these sparring games. They're 100%. So much better for you. So then, where have we been? Let's list some of the places.
Well, we've been all over Australia.
Yeah, we've been all over Australia. We've been some funny places. We've been Emerald, Gold Coast, Brisbane. We fought in front of the 6th Battalion down in Brisbane on Enoggera. That was highly amusing. The boys got a bit raucous, as they always do.
That was actually pretty exciting. Just being around those guys in the atmosphere and seeing them fight in the crowd before we fought in the cage.
Still a hectic culture, I spent 8 years in the military, and every time I look back on it, it's such a place of extremes, you know, like extreme enforced discipline and like, you know, like a whole heap of lack of self-discipline, you know, at the same time.
Put 200 dudes and a lot of free alcohol in one place, and it's always going to...
Yeah, it can be bananas. And then...
been to Japan?
Yeah, we've been to Japan several times together, and that's kind of become a fun place to go travel together, and I'm sure we're going to do Japan again. And we went to India too, which was a interesting experience, and I would like to do some more Asia Cups, whether it be Jiu-Jitsu Asia Cups or Kudo Asia Cups. I think being involved in the South Pacific region is important for Australians.
Yeah, because there's just such a large diversity over there that's, you know, relatively untapped for some of us, and it's close.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that far away.
Because I went to Russia and I was lucky enough to fight the Russian national champ for Kudo, so that was super cool. But you got to fight a Russian in the Asia Cup as well, because they sent a little team, and we fought guys from Tajikistan, Kazakhstan.
All the stands.
Yeah, you know, like it was super cool that, you know, Japan, Korea, all these wonderful countries, and the beautiful thing was, like, you could feel this sense of camaraderie. Like, even though there was a language barrier, we could all talk martial arts together, and and you could even get the same feeling from some of the other clubs that, you know, like you were kindred spirits in a way.
Yeah, well, what they say, you know, most fighters have more in common with the guy standing across from them in the cage or the ring than they do from the people in the crowd, you know. We know exactly what the other person's been put through or done to get
100%. And the Anzacs were saying the same thing about the Turks, you know, 100 years ago on the beaches of Gallipoli, you know. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. There's a warrior thing going on there.
And then we've been to America.
Yeah, that was good fun. UFC Fight Week, and it was part of UFC 200 as well. So that was a big trip and an interesting experience. Trying to rock up somewhere 2 weeks early on a budget. So, you know, while everyone thinks people are highballing when they do that, you know, like, it was actually 4 guys crammed into one shitty hotel
with 2 blow-up mattresses on the ground.
Yeah, because, you know, like, they wouldn't give us a bigger room, and they don't give you a room with laundry, and they put you in you might be in a 5-star hotel, but they charge a couple $100 just to do a normal thing of laundry. So laundry was a huge issue. We were drying clothes on our cars in the Las Vegas heat on the roof while we were training inside, and, you know, like, it was a little bit bananas. And at the end of the day, I think most of us walked out of that, you know, like, out of pocket, you know, and made some big sacrifices to leave family and stuff behind to make that happen. So, you know, it's a very interesting thing, and I think something that we'll get better at over time. The next lot of fighters coming through now, we're going to get better at it and have better support teams and be better prepared and have better sponsorship to make sure that those things happen in a more comfortable fashion.
I think, but it really illustrates, though, that we do this sport for love. You know, unless you're the 1% of the 1%, even at that elite level, you better be doing this sport for the right reasons.
Well, if you think of the amount of fighters in Australia right now that would have loved to be in the position that you're in, there was actually a lot of people gymming for that. You would probably find that you were already in the top 5% of fighters in the country quite easily at that point in time. Yeah. Anyway, you know, and still are now.
But yeah, and but to be honest, I think some of those experiences we had, like drying our clothes on the roof of the car, is something that I'll remember for a long time. You know, I think it made that trip, you know, a little bit more interesting. That you can look back and reiterate those funny stories of those things that we had to do to fight.
Everyone putting up with the hillbilly snoring.
Yeah. Just those little things, I think. And to be honest, for me, it was about sharing that journey with the people that I started with, that had been around me, helping me to improve and develop. You know, for that, I think we just made those relationships stronger.
Yeah, how important are those relationships in regards to high performance?
See, this is this is where I strongly believe that you got to have people around you that truly care in your development as an athlete. You know, and I find that the guys that jump from gym to gym, I feel like it's the one thing they're probably lacking. Now, I'm not saying that I have a problem. Like, I tell all my students that they can go train anywhere else, but you know, if they want to fight or commit, they got to pick one, I think, or they pick two where we can separate and we can work together to improve that athlete.
Yeah, there needs to be a head coach overarching it. I mean, you can do decentralised training. That's not a problem at all. But you need to have a strong relationship with your head coach, A, to make that happen, and B, man, you got to go through the trenches first and earn your relationship with that coach before you go thinking you're going to be a Ronin jumping from gym to gym. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, like, people almost use that tag as a badge, but in Japan, that was actually, you know, like, to be a Ronin was frowned upon. It's an insult, you know, like, and, you know, like, those strong relationships, like, if you looked at some of the highest performers, you know, like, you're going to see this character in the background, a Greg Jackson or for us as a hobby. It's like someone that they have a really, really strong relationship with that's been there for them, and that doesn't mean that person has let them do whatever they want. They'll probably find that person has been the one person that has been brutally honest with them, and they've cut a lot of bread together, you know.
And that's it. And I think that's important. I think, as you said, you know, you see those athletes that are up there. They usually have one thing in common. That's they have the one person that's really been the majority of the time with them. That may have set them, you know, they go, look, you know, I think we're lacking in this one area. I think, you know, we're going to bring this person in, or we're going to send you there to work on it. But it keeps coming back to, you know, that one person, or maybe there's two coaches that directs the direction or helps to influence the fighter in the correct path, and I think that's super important. And it's, as you said, it's something that needs to be worked on and developed. You can't just rock up to a gym a month out from a fight and expect the coach to give you all their time, or, you know, spend 6 months at a gym, coach spends a lot of time with you, and then you disappear for 8 months or 12 months before the next fight. And I think plenty of coaches have people that they can relate that to. But
yeah, and you got to keep those standards yourself. I mean, we're both coaches now. You know, like, you have to keep those standards yourself, where you can't have guys rocking up just for fight camps, because they're not getting any better. And for everyone out there that may not be, they're like, oh, they're sitting at home thinking, oh, I'm not the high performance guy. It's those relationships that you build inside the gym that will keep you there when life isn't so good. You know, like, when you lost your job, you know, like, and you're scraping for cash, don't cancel your gym membership, because that's the one thing that's going to keep you going. Like, when everything else is rubbish, go to the place where someone greets you at the front door and you get to work on being stronger together. You know, like, that's the one thing you got to keep doing. Like, those relationships are so powerful in keeping you mentally healthy. You know, it's not just about being physically healthy. That's just one of the great payoffs of martial arts or fitness training.
Yeah, well, for some people it might be the only time they see another person. You know, it might be the only time they have an interaction with another person. You know, while they're at the gym, you know, they might work from home. You know, they might not have a wife or kids, or, you know, they might have just moved from a different country. You know, so they're feeling isolated. It's a great way to meet people and start to interact with the community in an environment that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, an environment that you've chosen too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you chose to go there for a reason, and hopefully it was because of the enjoyment of the martial arts or the fitness training. You know, and that's it's almost like prehab for your brain too. Like, if you want to protect yourself from, you know, like, the black dog ever sneaking up on you, like, even if you're not sad now, don't let go of the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
You know, like, they should be non-negotiables for your life, you know, because you know, all the people that are positive to be around, like, I mean, you have so many non-negotiables when it comes to, like, man, I'm going to train today, or man, I'm going to eat healthy today. Like, I mean, you don't. I mean, you're a pesco vegetarian, so I've never seen you falter from that. I've never seen you go a day or two without training. You know, like.
It just, for me, I become moody, I become grumpy, nobody wants to be around me.
I've seen that.
Yeah. But I feel like, you know, it's a positive boost. And for me, like I said, growing up, sport was the one avenue that didn't matter what was happening at home or at work. You know, for that hour or 2 hours or even half an hour that I was on the mats or in the gym, or for me growing up surfing, I was completely in the moment. You know, I wasn't distracted by, you know, assignments, or, you know, if I didn't have enough money to pay for a bill that had come in. For that half an hour, I actually got a sense of freedom that I got to forget about all my problems and issues that happened outside the gym. And for that 1 hour, I was completely in the moment. I got to enjoy it, and, you know, it gave you that sense of elevation. And then once you finish that training, then those problems seem to become less heavy. And, you know, and for me, I seem to find ways to work around to fix it, or to complete those jobs, those stuff that needed to be done. But yeah, for me, sport was just the one way that whenever I was doing it, it was that I got to be completely in the moment. Nothing else mattered, which was, for me, quite relaxing.
Yeah, that's the goal. And if for someone else out there, you know, like who might be starting, what's like the 3 best things that you think martial arts are doing? Like, if you could only pick the 3 values that most likely every beginner is going to achieve in the first 12 months of doing martial arts, what do you think those values would be that martial arts is going to help build that nothing else will?
I think self-confidence. You know, just in the ability to cope with problems. I think it doesn't mean like you're going to, after a year, you're going to go out and you're going to destroy anybody that walks in front of you. But for me, martial arts is like a complex game that you got to work out. Problem
solving. I like that. I would agree with you there. Like, if I, you know, like without having to pick my 3 first, because I would steal that one straight away. Problem solving is 100% one of the best skills that you get. And, you know, like if it's a very technical boxing or kickboxing class where you do lots of counter drills, and we go back to that game playing sparring again, if you do lots of that, you'll start to have a problem solving mindset to your sparring. But jiu-jitsu definitely is hands down, you can't avoid that.
No, and the thing is, I think the second one would probably be overcoming adversity. Yeah, on a small scale.
Yeah.
You know, like there is nothing more confronting when you first start than having someone, especially in jiu-jitsu, lay on me in a mount, or take my back and start to choke me. You know, and it's confronting, I think, for a lot of people. But once you start to develop those abilities to overcome that adversity in jiu-jitsu, you know, hopefully that when you come to a problem in life, you understand the process of chipping away with it or breaking it down. You know, you understand that it's not going to be a one move get out of this position. You know, it's little steps that build on to
the adversity links quite seamlessly to the problem solving, 100%.
And then I think the third one is just is a change in mindset to become maybe more directed, focused, or positive in what you've chosen to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I might pick if I was relationships. That third one, and it's something that people don't think about enough. When you go to your gym, build relationships, new relationships, because the reason you're going there is to start something fresh. Like, there's something that drew you to that place to want to improve, to want to learn something new. You want to learn something new, build a relationship with your coaches, build a relationship with your training partners, build a relationship with someone else who's starting at the same time as you, so you have another beginner to have a really good relationship with.
Yeah.
Then build a relationship with one of the senior guys in there, so you can follow in their footsteps and see how they built a good relationship with their coach. You know, like, I can't stress enough how powerful building those relationships is, because every time I look at a high performer or someone that's super resilient, man, they're just really good at building relationships in the places that serve them.
Yeah, and I think we could list half a dozen to a dozen reasons why martial arts is just so beneficial for people, and that's without ever fighting. That's before you even have to step in a ring. If you never want to, I think some of the best training partners I've had have never fought.
Oh, 100%.
You know, they just love to develop. They love the commitment. They love the dedication. They love improving themselves. And so, like I said, some of the guys that have got me ready for every single of my fights have never fought a day in their life. And as you said, it's the relationship you develop with those people that are just so important to the improvement of this as an individual, but then as a collective.
Yeah, and you know, like, and that's something you've been very good at doing too, is finding the right value in people too, and it's an admirable quality to be able to do that, to realise that there's a lesson that you can be learned from every person that you meet, good or bad.
Yeah, and I think you have to. I think it's those skills that you learn that will help you, and I think it's something that I think we've realised that if we can pass that on to kids at a younger age, then hopefully they become better adults.
Yeah, 100%. I love our kids program, and because I'd walked into some strange martial arts clubs as a teenager and didn't take up martial arts again until later as an adult, it's been really important for me to build a program that I thought would be fun and engaging for a younger me. So if I'd walked in and found this thing that we actually got to, you know, like, do real skills first to begin with, and play games with each other and have fun, you know, like, it's definitely something that we've worked hard on building in our centre, and it's something that you guys are developing too down at Good Sundays Martial Arts as well.
I think it's one part. I think, as you know, we've got a lot from the people around us, and you know, it's something that we feel strongly about giving back and helping to give something to the next guys coming through that's going to improve or develop them in a positive way. That, as you said, you know, in a rural area, it's very hard to come into contact with. Like, I didn't have that when I started. You know, you didn't have that when you started. We kind of fumbled our way through at the start.
Yeah, you don't want the next lot to have to fumble through. And I think if you're looking for a good martial arts club now, even in rural places, like, you can look for the right martial art. You know, like, guys, do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, do Thai boxing, do boxing. You know, like, you know, there's some real stuff out there, and it is 100%.
Even if you don't, you know, you want to do more of your traditional, like, do a karate. You know, do a karate, but
look, Kyokushin's great.
But mix it up with something else. Like, you know, it's one of those things. Don't go to a karate gym, and if they tell you they've got this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu system, that you take it for their word. You know, you've got to look around, like. Yeah. And I think that's super important. You know, some of these traditional martial arts are great. Like, I got nothing against them. I think you can learn so much, and I think like Shotokan or Kyokushin are super.
Well, Brand
effective.
runs an MMA. You know, like, there's a really nice MMA gym down in Fitzroy, and they do Shotokan, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kudo, and mixed martial arts. You know, like, those guys are legit, and that's such a great blend of things. And Brand's the real deal too. You know, like, he's a really good martial artist and a good guy, and that's a brilliant blend. But again, it's because he's so attached to the realness now. You know, like.
Yeah. And he's looked outside the one aspect, and I think that's the same for everybody. Like, you go into a boxing gym and they're all about boxing, and they haven't considered other aspects, and I think that's exactly the same as then if you go to a karate gym, and, you know, or you're looking to well-rounded, developed athlete, you can't just be focused on one area. You know, I think you've got to find a balance. I think, which is super important, and if in your area you don't have that one gym that has that mixture. You know, up here you've got you guys at Courage. You've got your boxing. You know, you got high level boxing. You got high level wrestling. You got high level jiu-jitsu. You got high level MMA in one place. That makes it effective for a person to rock up and go, hey, I don't need to go anywhere else. But you know, in some other places where they don't have that all in one place, then maybe you might have to go to a BJJ specific gym and then go to a striking gym and travel a little bit more. But the clubs and the gyms are out there. You just gotta do your research, go and try it out, and try to find the gym that has the perfect fit for your for your character, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Find the right gym for your character. You know, like not every gym is going to be a fit. Just like not every student is a fit for me. 100%. That's something that's super important. You know. I reckon we got some gold on there, mate.
Awesome.
How long was that one?
32 minutes.
32 minutes. Seems like a pretty standard length for like a conversation with a friend about martial arts. Maybe we'll be starting a 30-minute YouTube
Podcast.
series.